हरि ओम। वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Namaste friends, welcome to the 25th session of the series Gift, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transformation. We are in the 6th chapter, Dhyana Yoga, the Yoga of Meditation. The 6th chapter deals with the role of meditation as an important spiritual sadhana. One who has discipline and control over the sense organs and is equipoised can march speedily towards the goal of self-realization. Dr. Anupama will be introducing and moderating this session. Over to you, ma'am.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sadashiva-samarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Vande Guru Paramparam Om. Today we shall discuss the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verses 7 to 14, and these verses describe the Bahiranga and Antaranga Sadhanani to be followed by a meditator. In the previous class, one of us had a very pertinent doubt as to who is a Yogaruda. Let's commence this class with the definition of Yogaruda. A Yogaruda is a sadhana chatushtaya sampanna, a person who has reduced extrovertedness and port, as we've already heard, possessions, obligations, relationships, and transactions. And he spends most of his time doing Shravana Manana Nidithyasana. He practices Bahiranga and Antaranga Sadhanani. The Bahiranga Sadhana are, by becoming a Karma Yogi, he gains equipoise or samatvam, he develops self-confidence, Atma Kripa, he puts in self-effort and attains self-mastery. By the practice of Nidithyasana, Yoga Bhyasa Nidithyasana, his jnanam becomes Nishta. The sadhaka now becomes a Yoga Ruda. So what is this Nidithyasana Yoga Bhyasa? It could be either Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa Nidityasanam, the sitting meditation, or Brahmabhyasa Rupa meditation, Nidityasanam, that is remaining in the binary format during worldly transactions. This means port and clasp sannyasa or renunciation. Clasp means controllership, anxiety, and special prayers. These sadhanas help us to exit the triangular format and remain in the binary format. For this Yoga Ruda, who is now a Prashantasya Jitatmana, meaning tranquil and self-integrated, Atma Jnanam is simply effortless. Paramatma Samahitam. Paramatma is ever evident for him. Just as we see here in this picture, this Yoga Ruda is a Jnana Nishta, and he is anchored in Brahman in and through all his Vyavahara activities, compared to a skilled cyclist who balances on a cycle without requiring any conscious effort. He can perform various other tasks simultaneously. A Yoga Brashta, in contrast, lacks focus, he lacks self-integration, and he can just slip into the triangular format. So self-integration is mandatory. What is this self-integration? It is the teamwork or arjavam of our intelligence, emotional, and spiritual quotients. IQ should be developed through Guru Shastra Upadesha, that is Jnana Yoga. The emotional quotient should be enhanced by becoming a sadhana chatushtaya sampanna through karma and upasana yoga. And the spiritual quotient is then the ability to connect Jivatma and Paramatma with a very well developed, a strong emotional quotient, which rarefies or makes the mind very subtle and receptive. So, Arjavam is the ability to craft our life symphony with the IQ, EQ, and SQ. In the words of Yamadharmaraja, Vijnanavan Bhava, living in harmony with our values and connecting with something much, much larger than our limited body-mind complex. This spiritual quotient is mandatory not only for our Vedantic studies, but also for our personal and professional success. Why? Because we're not human beings with a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings with just a human experience. For this Arjavam, next slide, please. For this Arjavam or symphony, the sense organs, mind and intellect should be healthy. FIR should be reduced. Now, just suppose if the buddhi cannot guide the mind and the mind cannot guide the sense organs, what would the result be? Cacophony instead of symphony. Scriptural studies we see are mandatory. Brahmachari varte stitaha. Brahma here means Vedas or scriptures, and Chari means a way of life. Studying and following the disciplines prescribed by scriptures are mandatory. Renouncing all relationships and gradually realizing that there is no Dvaitam, but Eka Shivaha Kevalo Aham. The hallmark of this Yoga Ruda or Viveki is Samatvam and Kutastam. He remains unshaken at all times. Krishna gives us 3 different types of examples to explain equanimity of attitude, starting with Samaloshta Kanchana, meaning Samatvam towards inanimate object, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane Gavihasti Shuni, Shvapake Pandita, different types of living beings, Samadarshana again, and Suhrat Mitra Ari Udasina, Madhyastaha, etc., Samadarshana, with respect to people who have different attitudes towards us. With this, let's proceed to the verses allotted for today. Madam Sukanya, please.
Hari Om. Thank you, madam. This chapter is all about meditation. In the previous chapters, Karma Yoga was elaborated. While Karma Yoga is a Bahiranga sadhana for knowledge, Dhyana Yoga is an internal sadhana. Dhyana Yoga is to keep the mind calm, free from violent turbulences to attain samatvan, equipoised mind. Total attention of the mind and intellect is focused on the nature of reality. All other dissimilar thoughts are eliminated. The only thought is yata chittatma, to reach him. For this, the sense of worth, possession, expectation, relationship, and transactions are reduced. With this practice, a balanced mind is attained, and such a person can recognize the higher self. And for such a mind, all experiences, favorable or unfavorable, are the same. This is the essence of this verse. Jitatmanah prashantasya paramatma samahita shitoshna sukha dukkheshu tatha manapamanayo. For the one who has mastered himself and who is tranquil, the supreme Atma is evident. He is the same in heat and cold, pleasure and pain, honor and dishonor. Next slide, sir. Jitatmana is the one with an integrated mind, one who has won over his sense organs, mind and intellect, one who has control over his desires. He does not directly propel his desires into action, but allows it to pass through the intellect. Prashantasya is the one who is tranquil. He is also called Yoga Rudha, one who is benefited from Dhyana Yoga, and Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna. This is a mental preparation for spiritual journey. Paramatma Samahita. He owns up the higher self. Such a person is same in all experiences. Samadhi Rupa Nididhyasanam is explained in this chapter, for which Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Sadhana Chatushtaya are the prerequisites. Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti is not for mere practice and attainment, but to be maintained throughout Nididhyasanam. One who has refined this internal wealth has mastered the 14 instruments, karmendriyas, gnanendriyas, mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. He is a jitendriya who is able to convert gnanam to gnana nishtha. This is a shift from triangular to binary format. He claims, I am no more a samsari jivatma, but nitya mukta paramatma. This is the object of Nididhyasanam. Swami Anubhavanandaji says, Karmani chitta shuddhaye ekagrata upasanartham mokshartham brahmagnanam. The fourfold sadhana chatushtaya sampatti is now elaborated here in this slide. Next slide, sir. The four main disciplines are samatvan, self-confidence, self-effort, and self-mastery. By using the wonderful instruments gifted to us, physical body, organs of action, organs of knowledge, mind, and intellect, so as to accomplish the human goals, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These four disciplines are the inner wealth, as Swamiji calls it, and this is in Tattva Bodha as under. Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha, discriminative knowledge of Nitya and Anitya, eternal and impermanent, knowledge of absolute truth by three different names, Atma, Brahman, and Tattva. Then Iha Mutrartha Palabhoga Viragaha. This is dispassion, detachment from all sense pleasures available to us in this world and the other world, which are attained through prayers, yagas, yagnas, rituals, etc. These are impermanent and addictive. Vairagyam is the only solution for discovery of ultimate truth. Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. These are the sixfold virtues which form the inner real wealth of an individual. Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhana, explained in the next slide. And the last one of Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti is Mumukshatvam, intense desire for moksha, freedom from all struggles of samsara caused due to self-ignorance and self-misconception. Among the four human goals, Artha, Kama, give gross joy. Joy of giving is greater than joy of receiving. Dharma is a life centered on values that gives greater joy. Mumukshattam is the highest desire in spiritual pursuit. Next slide, sir. A wise man, after learning from life experiences, Parikshalokan Karmachitan Brahmano Nirvedamanya Sakritakatena, discovers the three deficiencies in karma phalam, dukkha mishritam, atruptikaram, and bandhakatvam. Therefore, he seeks the highest paramapurushartha, which is free from these intrinsic deficiencies. Next slide, sir. As per Shankara Bhashya, Jitatmana is Karya Karanadi Sanghata, one who has mastered gross body and all the instruments. For such a person, Prashantasya, self-mastery comes naturally. Antakarana Prashanta. Both the mind and verbal actions are calm. Swamiji uses the word FIR and triple C's for Prashantatma. That is calm, cheerful, and confident. Such a mind in Samadhi state is Samahita in the form of I am Brahman. Sakshat aparokshataya vartate. Paramatma is available intimately. He claims, Mai eva sakalam jatam, Mai sarvam pratishtitam. And Brahma adyam asmyaham. And mastani sarva bhutani avastita. Mithya jagadadishtana. All these are aham brahmasmi claim. Such a person, kincha shitoshna sukha dukkesho, mana apamanayo, puja paribhavayo situations, he remains in samatva bhava. Puja paribhavayo means honor and dishonor. So in conclusion, the objective of Vedantic meditation is to train the mind to be made available to us for whatever purpose, whenever we want and wherever we want, through Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Sadhana Chatusya Sampatti to attain knowledge of self, so as to attain the highest goal of human life. Hari Om.
Hari Om. So, as Madam has already discussed, and we all know that this chapter belongs to understanding of meditation. And so, these first few verses are talking about Vairanga Sadhanani. And now, with this next two verses, it will conclude about Vairanga Sadhanani. and then it will proceed to Antaranga Sadhanam. So let us see this verse 6.8. Jnana Vijnana Truptatma Kutastho Vichitendriyaha Yukta Ityuchyate Yogi Samaloštashma Kanchanaha. Next slide, please. So this verse says one whose mind is satisfied through jnanam and vijnanam, who is steady, who has mastered the sense organs, is called a yogi. The yogi is one for whom a lump of earth, stone, and gold are the same. Let me give a story to understand what is the meaning of Samaloshtaka Ashmakanchana. There was a Sufi saint, and he was doing miracles. He was in a small hut of his, and the king around wanted to make. He wanted the Sufi saint to visit his kingdom or his courtyard. After many invitations, he could not see the Sufi saint, so he sent his ministers initially with beautiful ornaments, gold, but they all came empty-handed. Finally, the king himself went with the precious gem that he had, thinking, looking at all this, he will come and honor him in his kingdom. But he rejected to come because he was satisfied where he was. Finally, the king asked him, what did you do for so many invitations I have sent and so many things you accepted? Then he said, I have not accepted anything of yours. I just have I have just flushed them in my garden. You can have a look as we see in the next slide. When he goes in the garden, he sees everything what was given was the precious gems, diamonds, everything was just flushed away because he sees everything and anything as distraction from the higher self. So coming back to the verse as we see in the next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. One more. Yeah. Samaloshta Ashma Kanchanaha. Samaha. The whole idea is that such a person is all the same in any of such offers. Loshtaha. No, not so valuable. It may be like an earthen pot. Ashmaha. Valuable stones or bricks. And Kanchanaha. Very highly valuable like gems. Sama, he is same in all such offers. So who is such person? Next slide, please. Does he have a cataract that he can't see the differences? No. He is a yogi. What do we mean by yogi? He does different poses of yoga? No. He has complete mastery, Vijayatendriyaha, over sense organs. And that's why he is Kutastaha, means he is steady in his path of spirituality. In the next slides, we also have seen in this verse, Jnanam Vijnana Truptatma. Jnanam means knowing about the higher self, the knowledge. But more important for all of us who are students of Vedanta is Vijnanam, claiming the higher self and accordingly acting or doing the work in the daily life. So the knowing and doing gap is absolutely nil in a Jnana Vijnanam Truptatma, the yogi. Such is the yogi. Next slide. So such a yogi is been described in this verse. Now just taking the same meaning, we are going to 6.9th verse, which says, we just see the next slide. Such a person's mind is same with regards to well-wishers, friends, enemies, neutrals, mediators, hateful ones, relations, the rights, and even the unright would not exceed him. So it's very easy for us to understand that we can be calm when the friends, well-wishers and all, but what about the enemies? What about the hateful ones around us? So in such a condition also, the mind should be calm and it doesn't waver off. Now, as we see in the last slide, it can be two ways of taking it. The philosophical angle, or as we have seen the second chapter, Sankhya Yoga, there is only Atma. Whatever we see around us, maybe the haters also, it is the Anatma. So one should only focus on the Atma part. One should never ever focus on the body mind complex. So any haters also has the same consciousness within. That is a philosophical angle. But I would like you to understand the other angle. Take an example of a river. The rivers, right from the origin to the end, or their meeting into the ocean, they flow with a gentle stream. Along the stream, they might be used in a different ways. They don't discriminate. Their duty is to flow and give the necessary water to the entire place where they are flowing through. So the second angle is such a yogi who has samatvam, who is prashant atma, who is vijitendriya, who knows that no, there is no, who has no gap between knowing and doing. He will just not allow anyone to affect him, because what affects is the raga dvesha towards people. Once we have likes and dislikes, we get affected. We allow people to um, hook at them, or we allow people to disturb you. Such a river which just flows happily, Karnataka, do their duties, perform their duties without any second thoughts. Such an example should be always with our mind, and that's how we will be called a Sama Buddhi mind. This is all about the 6.9 verse. Hari Om.
Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Realizing the difficulties of the common mortals like us, Krishna advises karma yoga as more practical than karma sannyasa. That is, work done with devotion enhances the spiritual realization because the mind becomes tranquil and elevated. Now, in the previous three presentations today, starting from Shloka 7, which is similar to the Shloka 14 of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it elaborates about the yogi who treats the extremes of weather as very transitory. Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, all with equally and with equanimity. And then in Shloka 8, which was beautifully elaborated with a story by Sachin just now, the yogi is unperturbed about objects. They may be a huge rock, or it may be just dirt, or it may be beautiful sovereign gold. And in Shloka 9, the same yogi is in total samatvam, whether the individuals are pious or sinners, whether they're friends or foes. And now we move on to Shloka 10. Next slide, ma'am. The Krishna talks about the preparation for such an action. Let's see the Shloka wordings. Yogi yunjita satatmanam rahasi sthitaha ekaki yata chit atma nirasira parigraha. Slide, sir. Now, rearranging the words for little comfort of understanding, Sita ekaki, remaining alone. That's pretty simple. Rahasi, solitude. Yata chittatma, restrained in body and mind. Nirasi aparigraha. Nirasi is no possessions. Aparigraha is no desires. Yogi, such a yogi, satatam yunjita. He is constantly engaged in the mind. Next slide, ma'am. Now, up to verse 9 has been said, it has been the Bahiranga Sadhanani. What is it now? It was choosing the right place, the solitude in the mind and body, the asana, the right posture, mano and indriya nigraha, the sensory restraint, and prana samyam, very important, the even breathing. Now, Swami Param coins the term, coming to the next slide. Those are the outside components, and he makes it simple, which has been repeated 2-3 times already. That beautiful acronym, PORT. No possessions, no obligations, no responsibilities, and no transactions. Slide, man. Now, that is the gift of that is the gist of the Antaranga Sadhanani. Let us see the Bhashyam perspective for this sloka, which is always a little deeper and tougher. Samadhi, absorption in Vedantic thoughts through Shravanam, as told in the Kaivalya Upanishad, which was quoted again today earlier. Mai eva sakalam jatam. And it is not the mystic trance like in the yoga abhyasa which we go in the yoga classes. There is no I, there is no my, it is always the total I to which we all should withdraw. Again, the word Atma can mean either the mind or the body. And this important phrase, Rahasi Sitaf Ekaki, is total sannyas according to Sri Shankaracharya. Well, that is beautiful. But when we are in a Laukika plane, we can recall and apply Swamiji's sport only rather than going into the ochre robes and sitting in total solitude in the Himalayas. As monkhood may be a little impractical for most of us. And so we get a little respite when Paramatmanandi says, just get rid of the aham, mama, abhimana, and that is good enough. That is sufficient. Nirasya parigraha also. That is getting rid of the possessions and the desires. Now coming to the phrase, next slide, ma'am. Coming to the phrase Yachit Atma, Chittam should not be taken as memory only, but as Antakarana, which has got three components. That is Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara. All the three components are there. That is restraining from all the worldly activities. And again, the acronym of Paramatmananji comes as class, which was told earlier in the introduction today. Leave the controllership and the ownership, the anxiety and the special prayers. They have to be done away with. In conclusion, we can just go to the chapter 922 famous sloka. Ananyas chintayanto mam nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. That is Krishna's promise. Thank you.
Am I audible? So I'll be starting with verse 11. In verse 11, so 11 and 12, so as Lord Krishna is entering the Antaranga Sadhanani, the preparatory disciplines that need to be followed just before starting meditation is described in these two verses. So Shaucha in verse 11, Shaucha is in a clean, deshe, place, Pratishtapa, having established, Sthiram, steadfast, Asanam,
Ananya, the youngest of
Atmaha, his own, Na ati uchritam, Na ati nicham, which means not too high and not too Shaila, cloth, Ajina, deerskin, Kusha, grass, and Uttara, which means one above the other. So in verse 11, this shloka, Krishna talks about the place of meditation as well as the seat of meditation. So the place of meditation should be physically and spiritually clean, away from all distractions or disturbances. So there are two ways to do this. One is either naturally by sitting by a riverside, a beach, or a mountain. And if that's not possible, then you can artificially create the place by keeping pictures of Mahatmas, flowers, and incense sticks. You should ensure that the place of meditation is fixed. The location of meditation cannot change frequently. Ensure you pick an asanam or position to sit in, and this must also be fixed and not changing too frequently. Your asanam should not be too high nor too low. While meditating, the seat should not be too low because if it is too close to the floor, then the heat or the coolness of the floor can distract you from your meditation. Similarly, it should not be too high because there's a chance of you falling. So to ensure proper insulation from the ground's heat or cold, you need to have three layers of seating, and it's in this order. So even though the shloka says it in the reverse order, it's first the grass mat that comes, then is the deer skin if it is available. That is, if an animal has died naturally and you can acquire it, then you can use that. And after which you can place a soft cloth before seating. Now, next is verse 12. And in verse 12, we look at the word meanings first. Tatra, there, eka agram, one pointed manaha or mind, kritva, having made, Yata Chitta, controlling mind, Indriya, senses, Kriyaha, activities, Upavishya, being seated, Asane, on the seat, Yugnyat Yogam, should strive to practice yoga, Atma Vishuddhi, for purification of mind. So now that you have firmly fixed a position for and an asanam for meditation, what are you going to do? Krishna says, don't spend your whole time trying to perfect the place and position, because if your entire concentration goes into that, then you're losing the whole purpose of why you started with doing it in the first place. So spend your initial moments to bring into order the place of meditation, after which quickly sit down. And thereafter, what should you do? Withdraw all your organs, so including your Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya koshas. Withdraw them from all worldly distractions. And this kind of withdrawal helps in the conservation of energy for meditation. It also allows you to direct energy in a very focused direction. So what do you direct it towards? Yoga Yujnat. So which means that your energy that you conserved for meditation should lead towards Atma Shuddhi. So Vedantic meditation is for Atma Shuddhi. And how do you practice Vedantic meditation? So spend your initial minutes, like already described, by withdrawing all your thoughts from the world. Sometimes these thoughts can come into your mind despite controlling them, because at the end of the day, they're thoughts. Instead of trying to stressing too much on the fact that these thoughts are coming in, despite the fact that you don't want them to come in, allow them to come in, but don't pay attention to it. Let it go. So when you dedicate 15 minutes each day for yourself and for your meditation, so this should be your me time and your meditation time, where no one else disturbs. Um, no one else should disturb you nor your thoughts, and none of your daily problems like your family, money, career related issues should come in during those 15 minutes, because you know it's going to be there all the time. Since these thoughts loom over our minds all the time, it can be difficult to keep the thoughts out. So again, accept the thoughts that come in, but don't entertain them. And this is the way that you can make the mind focused. And this can be done only by a person who has withdrawn all their senses. Hari Om.
Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. Lord Krishna, after extensively explaining Bahiranga Sadhana in the first 9 verses, now addresses Antaranga Sadhanani. Regular yoga asana and yoga satatam yunjita, regular practice of meditation, is important for a meditator for yata chitta atma, to bring body and mind under control. Lord Krishna prescribes compulsory steps to follow before sitting for the meditation. After speaking about Desha, Kala, and Asanam, in this verse 13, he speaks of Sharira Sthiti, posture of the body at the time of meditation, and Prana Samyam, rhythmic breathing, Indriya Nigraha, withdrawal of sense organs, and Mano Nigraha, withdrawal of the mind from worldly activities. He details the posture for meditation. One should sit comfortably on a comfortable seat, legs folded, having a wide base area for the legs, which gives steadiness and balance. One can sit in any posture, not necessarily Padmasana or the lotus pose, but the alignment of the kaya, the body portion of the hip up to neck, and grivam, the neck, and shiraha, the head, should be held in tat samamam dharayan, in a straight line, perpendicular to the ground, and stiraha, firm. 2 specifications are mentioned here. Samam iti and achalam iti. Keep the body erect and steady. After samanam and achalam, sthiram bhutva, remaining firm in this condition. No swaying the body like in bhajans. After the body alignment is erect and steady, next is Indriya Nigraha, control over senses. Next line, Swa Nasikagram Dashtva, Swa means as though, looking at the tip of the nose with both eyes with a blank look. The blank look here is intended for avoidance of seeing all around. Dishaha Anvalokaya. Both eyes looking blank is required for Antakarna Samadhanam, for the quietude of the mind for concentration. Concentration for a focused meditation. Eyes and eyeballs assuming steadiness and resting involves fixing the sense organ and mind in one pointedness, that is, Indriya Sthapanam and Manovritti Sthapanam. Verse 14. Prashant, verse 14. The first half of the verse addresses the Antaranga Sadhanam and the second half the Dhyana Swarupam. Prashant Atma Vigat Bihi Brahmacharim Vrate Stitaha. Prashant Atma is being happy with the intensely tranquil mind, which is free from Vigat Bihi, anxiety of all types of obligatory duties, possessions, responsibilities, and transaction. Samayamya Manaha, restricting the mind in Brahmacharim Vrate Stitihi. A brahmachari is a student of Vedantic scriptures who follows all disciplines prescribed in Vedas, assuming him to be a Gurukulavasi. A brahmachari has three relationships: relationships with God, with Guru, and scriptures. Ultimate brahmacharya vratam is to transcend one's gender identity, claiming to be a Brahman, which is beyond identity. Aham Brahma Asmi. Swami Shankaracharya in Bhashyam says, meditation, if it is Saguna Upasana, we are in the triangular format. And we pray for our fears to be handled through bhakti, that God will support me. But when in binary format, Upasana, where one doesn't view himself as Jiva, there is no seeking support from Ishvara. Because seeking support from Ishvara means I am looking upon myself as Jiva. In Vedantic meditation, one has Brahma Bhava, that is, I am Adhishtanam of the entire universe. All else other than me is Mithya. Jagat is Mithya, so there is no fear from Mithya. The object of meditation is moving from Ekarupa to Vishwarupa and then to Arupa Ishvara. How does one reach there? The second line of the verse, Lord Krishna shows the path. Manasa samyamya machitaha yuktaha asita matparaha. For meditation, the condition of the mind should be free from all disturbances. Swamiji says, we have disturbances from two quarters, the past and the future. Thinking about the past and the future, our present is lost. All our karmas and vasanas from the past also surfaces when the mind is quiet, especially during meditation. Deep within the mind are vasanas and experiences which trigger regrets, anger, bitterness, and other emotions. These emotions surface during meditation and hinders our spiritual growth. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, surrenders all your past after realizing that every experience is meant for my inner growth, and therefore I have no regrets. If not, it becomes a burden. The next disturbances is about the future insecurities regarding samsara, worries about everything and everyone close to us. Even this, Lord Krishna says, surrender to me, feeling whatever the outcome of the future is because of my karma, and gain strength and wisdom to cross over this samsara in a righteous manner. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, the disciplined one, yukta asita, manasa samyamya, with restrained mind, should fix his mind on me, mat chitaha, and me as the object of your thoughts, and also mat paraha, should look upon me as the supreme and ultimate good. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you, Padma. I'll just give a quick review of the Antaranga Sadhanani. Remember, Krishna says, Yogi Satatam Yunjita. A meditator should regularly practice meditation. The Antaranga Sadhanani that we've just heard are Desha, the place of meditation, should be secluded, Rahasi Sthita. Ekaki, meditate in solitude, not in groups. And Shuchau, the place should be clean. Kala, the time, preferably early in the morning when the mind is relatively sattvic, because as we get involved with our vyavaharika activities, it gets harder and harder to introvert the mind. Then the asanam, as we've just heard, next slide. The layers, kusha grass, deer skin, and a piece of cloth. Of course, this may not be available. So any asanam that is secure, sitam pratishtapya, and atmanaha asanam, own your own asanam. There should be no lending and borrowing. Instability and discomfort should be avoided. It should not be too high, not too low for fear of being stung by insects. And an unstable equilibrium would certainly disturb the mind. As we have just heard, the posture, samam kayam shiram grivyam. The body, head, and neck should be at right angle to the base, which should be broad. Achalam, there should be no movements. And anavalokiyan, not looking around. Samprekshaswam nasigapriam. Keep your eyes almost closed to avoid distractions. This means indriya nigraha. Prana samyam. Prana apana samau kritva nasa bhyantara charinav. Inhalation and exhalation should be even and rhythmic. Now, mano nigraha and buddhi nischaya. We know, as we have just heard, the subconscious mind is full of bitterness, regrets, anger, anxiety about the future, and various vasanas. I should just surrender these to the Lord. Bahyan sparshan bahir kritva. Just evacuate this burden. And what is the result? Prashantatma vigata bihi. Calm, anxiety-free mind. Then, mat chitta mat paraha. The mind is now integrated, yuktaha. It dwells upon the Lord, matchitta, and it has the Lord as the ultimate goal, matparaha. Finally, next slide. Manaha samyam. Manaha samyamya matchitta yukta asita matparaha. With an integrated mind, keep me both as the object of meditation and the destination of life. Thank you.
Gratitude to all our gurus and the Guru Parampara. Thank you, Dr. Anupama, and all the speakers of the day for sharing the Bahiranga sadhanas, the general disciplines to be observed throughout the day, and the Antaranga sadhanas, the specific sadhanas. Gratitude to all our listeners who motivate us and allow us to share our learnings with you. Next class is on important Upanishadic mantras, and this will be the third session of the 4 sessions. It's on Friday, the 10th of May, and these mantras will be based on the Mandukya Upanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.